Barbara is coming in hot. She's ready to go. Our final story for this evening, as you can tell, comes from Barbara Fox. And when I asked Barbara about the last time she faced an obstacle, I think it's an obstacle that many of us in this room understand. She said the obstacle she's been facing is trying to convey a smile while wearing a mask. So without further ado, Barbara Fox.
So, does this work here? Okay, thank you for lowering the mic, Jenny. Can you hear me all right this way? Yes, I'm not going to get to that close. Can you hear me all right? First of all, I want to give a shout out to Rebecca for putting this together and for inspiring me and the other storytellers to go deeper than we thought in our faith, in our stories, in our self-knowledge. It was really a valuable experience for me, and I can hear through the stories that it was incredibly valuable for others. I'm going to take you back to the 1970s. It was 1976, and Jimmy Carter was on the upswing. He had just been named the Democratic nominee for president, and miniskirts, which had been around for 3 years, were on the downswing. Career women who were tired of having to watch how they sat, and hemlines dropped from here to here. But I was not a career woman. I was a stay-at-home suburban mom with children 13, 9, and 6, and my husband was not going to see me in a maxi skirt. You will look like an old lady, quote, unquote. I was 36. Now, some of you young folks may wonder why a wife would pay attention like that. Well, I was married in 1961, and that was before Betty Friedan, and that was before Gloria Steinem. And I used to say I had to choose between being a feminist and being married, and I chose married. So good Christian women at the time, they were good housekeepers, and they volunteered, and they went to church every week. I managed the last two. And so when I went to church, I would likely be wearing my favorite outfit, which was a blue skirt, blue with white dots, pleated, and a matching jacket. It was 1976, and I had just come back from a Christian Writers Conference. I was trying to make money with words, and I was trying to honor my late father, who was a cancer research scientist. He was very creative, and he had drive. He had a work ethic like you would not believe. And so it was a family business when my sister and I were not being driven around to music lessons, drama lessons, dance lessons. We were probably at the lab helping out, or we were often at the dining room table helping to proofread his anatomy textbooks and not wanting to be the first one to say, I'm tired, we have to stop. So with words, I was going to honor his creativity and his drive, and I needed to make money. Now, I knew, having had music lessons, drama lessons, etc., I knew that it was important for my kids to have these. That was not necessarily a joint decision, and so I was always trying to make a little money to pay for it. So I tried teaching piano. I was okay, not very good. For a year, I taught creative dance at a school, and they did not renew my contract. I tried selling ads. They gave me a bad territory. For a while, I sold Electrolux vacuum cleaners. And so for the past 2 years, I'd been trying, as an English major, I thought maybe I can be a freelance writer, but it was beginning to be known as Barbara's expensive hobby. So at the Christian Writers Conference, I took a journalism course from a real honest-to-God Christian journalist named Bill Proctor, who worked for the New York Post. First day, what is a news story? Second day, What is a feature? Third day, how to interview. Fourth day, how to write a lead. I had it. I wrote it all down in my notebook, and I went home, and then it was time to pack up the kids, 13, 9, and 6, for our week at vacation by the Chesapeake Bay at my in-laws' house. And then there was a picture in the newspaper that changed the arc of my career. It was Robert Dole had just been nominated as Gerald Ford's vice presidential nominee. And by his side stood tall, glamorous Elizabeth Dole with her hair down to her shoulders. I knew that woman. She'd been my hall at Duke. I'd seen her hair in curlers. And until now, I had never had a good subject. What I wanted to write about as a mom and a Girl Scout leader was not what male editors wanted to print. And so I thought, Barbara, if you can't turn this into a saleable article, you need to find another way to make money. So along with the swimsuits and the towels for our vacation at the beach, I packed my big Smith Corona manual typewriter, a lot of paper, and some carbon paper. And the first day when the kids were at the beach, I called the nearest major newspaper, the Baltimore Sun, and I waited for him to laugh at me and say, "Who are you? Do you have any credentials?" And he gave me an assignment, $150 to write something 3 weeks from now to be printed in the Sunday paper. So I called Elizabeth Dole's office. She was a commissioner with the Federal Trade Commission. No answer. I called the Robert Dole campaign office. No answer. But remember, I had my father's drive. I then called all her relatives in Salisbury, North Carolina, her mother, her father, and her brother. And then I found out long distance calls, the phone numbers of people in the dorm, and I talked to them. And then I talked to her sorority sisters, and I even tracked down her boyfriend at Harvard Law School and talked to him. Still nothing from Liddy Dole. She hates to be called Liddy. Nothing from Liddy Dole. So we're back home. I'm at the pool with the younger 2 kids, and it comes over the loudspeaker. Barbara Fox, Mrs. Fox, come to the phone. Elizabeth Dole has called me, and my daughter Elizabeth has answered the call. So I rush home, and standing at the kitchen counter, Elizabeth Dole talks for 15 minutes. You know, politicians don't ever say anything unless the reporter is smart enough to make them say something, and I wasn't smart enough, and so she talked for 15 minutes, and almost nothing that I could use, but I did learn that she was going to be in Wilmington, a half an hour away that night, so I drove to Wilmington so I could describe her as she worked the crowd. Tuesday and Wednesday, I finished the article. Thursday, I had an appointment to actual physical interview with her former boss. She was now at the Federal Trade Commission, but she'd had a different appointed office. And so I'm on Amtrak at 6 in the morning, and I am a fashion disaster. Because, of course, I can't own a maxi skirt, but I can't wear a short skirt to Washington, D.C. because everybody will be in maxi skirts and I will look silly. So I have bought a pantsuit, which was also trending at the time. And I'm wearing the top to the pantsuit, but I haven't had time, what with the Girl Scout meeting the night before, I haven't had time to finish hemming the pantsuit. And so I'm wearing my pleated blue skirt with white dots. And the pantsuit is in the bag along with the needle and thread, which, like a good housekeeper, I have stashed in the bag. You know where this is going. I don't have the needle. I have lost the needle. There is no place in Union Station then or now which will sell needles. But in 1967, did I say 1976, Since then, they've built an office building to the left of Union Station as you come out. But then there were these little shacks that sold cigarettes, candy, and one had needles. So I was able to, in the ladies' room of the federal office building where I was to have my interview, I was able to sew up the pants. And I could present myself in a dignified fashion to this woman and do a decent interview. And then I took a taxi to the Federal Trade Commission so I could at least see Liddy Dole's office with the big desk and the flag behind it. I could describe her office. And then, amazingly enough, in the federal office building was a typewriter that they let me use. And I had carbon paper, and I wrote the last page of the 6-page story on the federal typewriter, got back on the train, got off in Baltimore, hand-carried it to the Baltimore Sun, so as not to trust the post office, got back on the train, got off in Wilmington, at home. Done. And then I woke up terrified on Friday morning. I knew this woman very well, but my whole article depended on would she or would she not give up her dream job at the Federal Trade Commission to stand by her man. Now, she and I were cut from the same cloth. We swam in the same soup. Our wedding pictures look remarkably similar. Boat neck taffeta dress with long sleeves, brown hair curling to the shoulders, and a mantilla. But she married at 39, and George and I had married just days after college. She was a glamorous woman, and I was not. She was a Harvard-trained lawyer, and I was a Sunday school teacher and Girl Scout leader. But I knew what she was going to say, and on Friday morning, I realized she was going to announce soon. I called up the Baltimore Sun and said, "You got to print it now. You can't wait. My article won't be any good." "Well, all right. We can print it tomorrow. But we can't give you the $120. It was $125 that they were going to promise me. We can't give you the $125. We can give you only $25. And I had, by that time, a $150 phone bill. Barbara's expensive hobby. "You have to print it," I said. And they did. So that morning, that Saturday morning, there was my article in the Baltimore Sun. Saturday noon, Elizabeth Dole announced, and I was right. She was going to give up her job to campaign. She was going to stand by her man, and I never needed another journalism credit because I had been published in the Baltimore Sun. And I went out and I bought a maxi skirt. And fast forward 10 years, I honed my craft as a freelancer because I was determined to be the stay-at-home mom that would be there for my kids. And I worked and worked being a freelancer and trying, and it was hard. It was hard. And George supported me, but there were some tough times. And then 10 years after that first byline, I got my dream job. I was here in this church. It was 1986. And after all those years of working for the peace, by the word, I got a job that was going to pay me by the hour for a boss that I loved to work for, that would use all of my creativity and eat up all my drive. I was going to be editor at US 1 newspaper. It was golden. But the very best part was when George said to me, "Tweedum, I've been praying for years that you would get your dream job." And I am an old lady now. And I wish that he were here to say, yes, you're an old lady, but I like you in that skirt.